Let's actually go through now the top signs and symptoms of copper-based deficiency. These are things that you're not necessarily going to have all of them, but you might have a couple. And it might be tricky because they might be showing up as something like lower thyroid, which copper helps to improve. So let's go through them right now without further ado. All right, everybody, we are back with our brand new Cabral concept, Total Wellness Tuesday show of the week. This is episode 2916. We're going to go over the top signs and symptoms for copper deficiency. So, just a few short years back, I did a podcast on what copper toxicity symptoms look like. And today, I actually want to go over what deficiencies look like. Because just remember that every single mineral or vitamin in the body, you can have too much of or too little of. And when you have too much of something, it creates a toxicity. When you have too little of something, it's actually a deficiency. The body always works best when it reaches a state of homeostasis or equilibrium. That's what we're always looking to achieve. Now, one of the reasons why I'm always an advocate of a whole food diet, typically 3 meals per day. And the reason is people say, well, why don't you recommend 2 meals per day? Or why don't you recommend more small meals? Well, there's always a fine balance, right? So for people that are maybe hypoglycemic or they're super active, sure, they might eat more per day. Meaning like younger kids, they don't store as much liver glycogen. They do better typically with 3 meals and then 2 snacks in between breakfast and lunch, and in between lunch and dinner. They seem to do really well that way. Now, of course, that saying that they're an active child and that there's a child that needs to gain weight and to grow and all these different things. But, that's neither here nor there. The reason why I typically recommend 3 meals for adults is simply because it's hard to get all of the micronutrients you need in 2 meals. You'd have to really stuff yourself. It's difficult to get 7 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. And predominantly those are vegetables. So, you can get at 2 meals, maybe you can do 3 cups of vegetables at 1 meal, 3 cups at another. Okay, now you're at 6 cups. You're just a little bit short. So maybe you have an apple, before lunch, whatever it might be. Like you can make it happen. It's just not as easy. So if you do this over 3 meals, it's just a lot easier. So anyway, that's where you're getting the majority of your vitamins and minerals, amino acids, omega-3s from a whole food diet. And that includes good healthy protein sources, healthy fats, and of course some carbohydrates. Now, beyond that, I do recommend some nutritional supplementation. And the reason I do is that I've done this thousands of times. So I will take a person's nutrition, exactly what they eat, and I will type it into a micronutrient calculator. So I take all of their macros, all their proteins, their carbs, and their fats, and the specific foods they're eating. And what I also find out then is the level of all their different vitamins, all their B vitamins, B1, B2, B3, B4, all the way through, right? And I also then learn about all their mineral levels, zinc and selenium and calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, phosphorus, and I look at copper as well. So I'm looking at all of these different things, and lo and behold, most people are deficient in at least 2 or 3 or 6 different vitamins and minerals. So I don't recommend mega dosing of vitamins and minerals, but I do recommend some, just to safeguard those deficiencies. Because believe it or not, if you're active, the recommended daily value on a multivitamin is just the minimum, right? It's the recommended daily allowance, the RDA, the smallest amount that you need to take so that you don't get disease. That doesn't mean optimal. So for people that are more active, they typically need more nutrients. Now they may eat more whole food, which is great. No matter what, I've never seen anybody that hits 100% across all bounds for their activity level. You may be that person, and that's fantastic. That's okay. But one thing that I do is I never guess either way. Like you can be the healthiest of the healthy and all that. What I like to run is what's called the starter kit. The starter kit is a very simple at-home lab test that takes a couple snips of hair that looks at all of your mineral levels, and it can look at electrolyte-based stress in the body, so basically calcium, magnesium, what that looks like in the body, and sodium, potassium. It looks at many other minerals as well. It looks at what? Sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium. It looks at manganese. It looks at zinc. It looks at copper. It looks at phosphorus. It looks at chromium. It looks at selenium. And then it also looks at 5 heavy metals that you don't want in your body. And those are mercury and cadmium and arsenic and lead and aluminum. So it's a great test that simple hair sample. These things get excreted in the hair. The hair is essentially a protein. It captures them. We just see what your levels are. Then there's another test that's called the Candida Metabolic and Vitamins Test. And that is a urine sample first thing in the morning, and it looks at gut health. So candida, it looks at bacteria, it looks at neurotransmitter metabolites, looks at mitochondrial energy, it looks at all your vitamin levels. So what we like to do is we just don't guess, we look at those. Now what I want to share with you though, is that I would say for maybe just under 50% of the population, they're slightly low in copper. Now, for about 10 to 20%, they're high in copper. So you don't necessarily know, right? But the nice thing is copper can be balanced with zinc. So that's kind of a safeguard. We use a product called balanced zinc. So it gives you the right ratio of zinc to copper so you don't overdo either one, because it's a push-pull or like a yin-yang. Take too much zinc, it pushes down copper. That's what a lot of people do. They take zinc without taking copper, right? Or they're people that have been sick for a while, they're really depleted, they exercise a lot, the body's weak, and they don't take enough zinc, and copper starts to get too high, right? So the body is always about balance. It's always about equilibrium. So testing is best, and if not, a product that contains about 15 milligrams of zinc to about 1 milligram of copper is the best way to go. That's what most good daily activated multivitamins will have, or something like our daily nutritional support. Or you can use a product like daily or balanced zinc, it's called. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's say you're not able to lab test. Let's actually go through now the top signs and symptoms of copper-based deficiency. These are things that you're not necessarily going to have all of them, but you might have a couple. And it might be tricky because they might be showing up as something like lowered thyroid, which copper helps to improve. So let's go through them right now without further ado. There's 15 of them total. We'll go through them now. So if you are someone that starts to get more muscle soreness or weakness, especially the day after a workout, this can be one. Another one is joint pain. So muscles and joints. If you've been not just a bad lower back, I'm putting that in air quotes, but someone that's like literally sore and stiff, it could be a copper-based deficiency. Not the only reason for this. I'm not saying that it's not. Could be magnesium, could be other things, but copper could be one of them. It really is. All right. What about, I see this a lot in children. I really do. There might be a stuntness of growth, so stunting of growth, or paleness in the cheeks, or they might be more anemic. I definitely see this like a lot more kids. Now it's definitely common in adults as well, low copper or copper-based anemia, or more fragile bones, like weakening of the bones. The bone development isn't where it needs to be. So that's an important one to look at. All right, in terms of the immune system, getting sick more frequently. So more frequent colds. We always think that we need zinc, and that's true. Zinc is one of the most powerful minerals in the body for improving the immune system. It's right up there with vitamin C and others. Zinc is up there. Vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc. If I can only have three, it'd be pretty close. Like those would be my ones on a daily basis that I need to make sure that I'm getting, right? But copper, again, helps to balance zinc. You need copper there for the mitochondria. You need copper there to help balance overall inflammation in the body. Really important. Okay, we talked about the weakening of the bones, we talked about osteoporosis, but another one as you start to get older could be arthritis. So as you're moving more towards the osteoporosis or osteoarthritis, it could be because of depleted levels of minerals in general, and one of those being copper. We talked a little bit about anemia, but another thing that comes along with anemia that doesn't always show up on blood work is bruising. And a lot of people bruise because of lower vitamin C and or lower copper. And it doesn't necessarily show up as anemia on blood work. Keep that in mind. If you bruise easily, might be low vitamin C, might be low copper. All right, overall skin inflammation, rashes, even hives can be from low copper. So when you see an inflammatory skin condition, right away, yes, a lot of people are going towards food sensitivities or gut issues. And I don't disagree with that. But it's also important for me to look at heavy metal toxicity and zinc or copper deficiency, or both. So it's an important one as well. All right, the last one two more I want to add, and this goes around thyroid. So what are your typical symptoms of low thyroid? It's going to be lowered body temperature, cold hands and feet, poor circulation, thinning of the hair. Think about all those symptoms. Even drier skin. All of those can be from low copper. So the same symptoms that we call low thyroid can be low copper. But now here's the interesting thing. What's one of the reasons you might have low thyroid? Low copper. You need copper, you need zinc, you need selenium, you need vitamin B6 in order to actually create usable thyroid. So when you're getting signals from the pituitary gland to create thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH, it still needs to move through T4, free T4, and then to free T3 or activated T3. And you need, your body doesn't just get these hormones on their own. It synthesizes ththings like iodine, right? Tyrosine. And it starts to use other nutrients, micronutrients we call them, vitamins and minerals, such as I want to go through that with you, the zinc, the selenium, the B6, the copper. But even things like vitamin A are crucial. Vitamin A helps with the oxidative process that's going on as your body's creating thyroid hormone. This is why, again, I just call it like baseline, not high dose, not mega dose nutritional supplements are actually vitally important, especially for people that are out of balance right now. So the last one I want to go onto for these symptoms of low thyroid, and by now I've named about 20, or I should say low copper deficiency, is actually fatigue. This is a big one. So when I was suffering from Addisons disease and POTS and myalgic encephalomyelitis and just weakened immunity, my body was so weak for so many years. One big thing was I was deficient in zinc. And so that greatly helped when I supplemented with zinc. And then I had to use a fair amount of zinc. I had to use about 50 milligrams a day. However, what practitioners didn't tell me that I wish they did was that at the same time I was increasing my zinc, I was depleting my copper. And copper is crucial for the metabolism and the mitochondria. And why that's important is because over the long term, you actually want your mitochondria to be able to help you with producing something called ATP, adenosine triphosphate, and helping to balance overall levels of inflammation in the body. Because if your body's always inflamed, you're always going to be feeling fatigued because it's a constant war zone in your body of white blood cells breaking down certain tissues or pathogens or viruses, etc. You need to get to a point where inflammation is balanced within your body. So yes, you need to find whatever the underlying root cause is, but also you have to increase your mitochondrial output to a healthy level. And copper is one of the crucial nutrients needed by the mitochondria in order to make that happen. So hopefully today's show was helpful. We will link up all of the top takeaways and any additional shows that I believe will be helpful. One of them is episode 1462. So this is episode 2916. So if you go to stephencabral.com/2916, we'll actually link up other helpful shows. And one of those, let's just say a couple years back, episode 1462 went over the signs and symptoms of too much copper in the body. So both of these shows should be helpful. And of course, if you ever want to test your levels, head on over to stephencabral.com/starter-kit. You can get all your vitamin levels, all your mineral levels, your gut health, heavy metals, and so much more tested with just those two labs. Take care, everybody. Have an amazing rest of the day. Of course, I'll be back tomorrow with a brand new Cabral concept. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.